Hey guys, Gord Leary here. Welcome to the video. Today we're going to learn how to read guitar tablature, which is something that's very useful, if you're trying to learn riffs or music off the internet or out of books and magazines. And we're also going to learn a really cool rock blues riff that goes something like this. Guitar tablature. The guitar tablature, as I say, it's basically a very easy way of reading and writing guitar music. It tells you which string you're on, and then it tells you also which fret you're on. Okay, so if we look at our first example there, the bottom of the screen, you've got your 6 lines running from sort of side to side. Now the way to think of it is that the lowest line on the page, or the screen in this case, is basically the thickest or deepest sounding note. Okay, so the line closest to the floor is the thickest string, and if you kind of go up the screen or up the page, the one that's kind of highest or closest to the ceiling in any group of six strings, that's going to be the highest sounding one. Okay, so as I say, the bottom one closest to the bottom of the screen is the thickest sounding one, string 6, and the one that's kind of highest of the 6 is the highest sounding one, or the thinnest string, string 1. Okay, so our first kind of example there, if you look at this bottom of the screen, you've got a 0 and it's on the line closest to the floor. Okay, so 0 means that basically there's no left hand, there's no frets, so this hand does nothing. Okay, and if you kind of work out then the 0, it's on the line closest to the floor, which means it's on the thickest or 6th string. Okay, so 0 on that line basically means the 6th string open, no left hand, no fretting hand. Okay, our next example, again it's a 0, so that means that there's no kind of fretting hand, so it does nothing, and it's the line kind of closest to the top of the screen, so it's going to be the highest sounding one, so that means that the 0 or open is played on the thinnest string, string 1. Okay, so 0 or open, string 1. The next example is a 0 or open as well, so again that means no left hand, no frets, and if you count down the 6 strings, if you go from the highest one on the page or the screen, you got strings 1, 2, 3, so it's on the 3rd string in, so 1, 2, 3, string 3. Okay, again, so 0 on that just means open or no left hand, and then open, string 3. Now in example 2 we have some fretted notes, and that basically means that we're going to actually use our left hand this time. We're going to play some notes on the on the fretboard. So the first note is a 1. Okay, so that means first fret. It's in the first space here, and if you work out, the 1 is actually on the line closest to the floor, so that means it's on the thickest string or 6th string. That basically means so first fret over here, and then you pick the thickest string. And obviously you want to make sure that if you're picking the thickest string in this hand, that when you put in the first fret, down here, it's got to also be on the thickest string. So both our hands obviously have to match. If you're playing the thickest string here, you got to pick the thickest string here. Okay. The next example we have there is a first fret again. So again, you're in the same fret or space, and this time it's on the highest one on the page, highest line on the page. So that means it's on string number 1. So you got first fret over here, first space, and it's on string 1, the one thinnest string, and then you pick the other hand. Okay, so first fret, string 1. The last note in this example, it's also first fret, because it's got a 1 on the page. So you basically have first fret right here, and then if you work it out, it's kind of 3 strings from the top of the screen or the top of the page. So you go 1, 2, 3. So it's not the first string thinnest, 2nd string, it's the 3rd string. So 1, 2, 3. And again, if this hand over here is first fret, if it's on the 3rd string, 1, 2, 3, And this hand here has to pick the third string as well. In example number 3, you see that all the notes are threes, so they're all basically in the third fret. 1, 2, 3, third fret or third space. So the first one, the first 3 that's written there, again, if you look at the screen, it's on the bottom line of the screen. It's kind of one of the kind of closer to the floor, so that means it's going to be in the deepest string, or string number 6. So you got third fret, and it's on the thickest string. Okay, and then with our other hand here, obviously you've got to pick the thickest string as well. Okay, next note, again, it's third fret, so 1, 2, 3, third fret or third space, and it's the note it's on the string closest to the ceiling, so to speak, so that means it's on the thinnest string, string 1. So third fret over here, and it's on the thinnest one closest to the floor in this case, the highest sounding one, string 1. Okay, and our last example, third fret as well, so third space here. And again, if you start from the top of the 6 lines at the top of the screen, it's 3 strings in, so it's 1, 2, 3, so it's on the third string. 1, 2, 3, third string. And again, if this hand here is on the third string, this hand here has to pluck on the third string. Now, if you look at a lot of tabs on the internet, especially when you're just kind of first starting out, it'll look a lot more confusing probably than like what we've done today. And basically there's so many different techniques on the guitar, hammer-ons, pull-offs, string bends, like I mean, there's countless different techniques. And in these free courses we're gradually going to be covering the different techniques, but every time you learn a different technique, that's another thing that you add to onto the tab, you know. So every different technique that you learn has its own little symbol to notate that when you're writing a kind of guitar tablature. So we'll gradually add those in as we're kind of going along. If you try to learn all these kind of different symbols right now, you'll kind of go, what does that mean, or what's it about? So for the moment, just stick with what we have. We'll just keep it simple, and then we'll add in different extra bits of notation onto our tablature system, you know, as we learn each technique. And to be quite honest, that you don't need the extra kind of notation until you learn each technique, you know. So one last thing with tab. Anytime you see kind of 2 notes written at the same time, say in our next example, example 4 here, you have a 5 and a 5. They're kind of stacked on top of each other. And if you look at the first 5, it's kind of on the thinnest string because it's on the top one. Okay, so that means 5th fret on the thinnest string. But then there's also like a 5 just immediately underneath it, and it's on the 2nd string. Okay, so when you've got kind of 2 notes or more, you could have even 6 notes kind of stacked one on top of each other. That just means that you play the notes at the same time. It's kind of like a chord. So anytime you see notes stacked on top of each other, you know, like vertically on the tablature system, it usually means it's a chord, or you play the notes at the same time.